Hey guys, welcome to Mind Over Matter, the mental game of student athletes. My name is John Rust. Today I have Dan and Joris with me. You guys like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Dan Haramis. I'm a sophomore psychology major here at Union, and I'm on the football team.
I'm Georgie. I'm a physics major here. I'm a freshman, and I'm also on the football team.
Nice. So, if you guys haven't seen the videos, we're going to talk about some the aspects about being student athletes. I'd like to lead into my first question if you guys are ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? All right. What's one moment of challenge or hidden struggle that stands out to you in the life of a student athlete? So navigating this challenge, did it affect you at all? Are you still learning anything about yourself?
There's a bunch I could choose from, but I guess to narrow down on one, I would think back to high school, my junior year. You played high school football in New Jersey during that time. It was during the 2021 football season during COVID. We only had about 6 games scheduled because of the COVID schedule, no playoffs or anything like that.
Yeah.
And of those 6 games, 2 of them ended up just getting flat out canceled because teams got COVID and they had to quarantine and things like that. So anyway, during that time, there was a limited amount of games, and I ended up losing my starting spot. I didn't get it back that year, but it just kind of made me angry and fueled the fire to make me come back my senior year and win that starting spot back, and to have a good off season to do so.
Yeah, I mean, definitely during that time period. I know in the Big North, New Jersey, Bergen Catholic and DePaul is a lot of big football over there in North Jersey. So I get what you're saying. And yeah, I think my senior season that year, 21, I think we had 6 games.
Yeah.
We finished out 6-0. So we were on top, but it is what it is. No, but I get what you're saying. I think we had 2 games with St. Peter's ended up getting canceling twice, and then one of our last games we were gonna play Del Barton at Del Barton, right? And 5 minutes before the game, the committee comes out and says, "Hey, we have to cancel the game." Del Barton had a last minute positive test, and we were all dressed ready to go. I literally was walking up as a captain, going to shake hands, and they're like, "Hey, we have to cancel the game." And Del Barton's not close to where I live, so I'm like, all right, now I got to drive so back. It was really annoying, but that's an interesting aspect of looking at it. Being as junior, it's not everyone thinks the same, but having that mentality is really great and something that you continue to always have, But dealing with adversity like that, especially when you have an outside factor, on top of it, it's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. So, but I'm glad you persevered through it, and now you're out of it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I heard about everything you just described. This is my first time actually talking to a Bergen Catholic football player that was on that team.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking. We literally went through warm-ups, everything. We ran out on the field, did the whole 9 yards, national anthem, went up for the captains, go shake hands, and I literally heard the committee guy go, "Yeah, we have a positive test last minute." And I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently it was like a test that they did Thursday that came in that morning on Saturday. It was nuts, but yeah.
Yeah. For me, I would say the biggest challenge I've ever met being a student athlete is dealing with my injuries. So I remember, when I transferred to my second high school to play football, I had a really bad ankle injury during the off-season training, and then I actually played through it for 2 seasons, and then my senior game during my senior year, I tore my right tricep, so I had to get my ankle surgery and my tricep surgery done in 1 month, and then the recovery was 8 months, so it was a really long process. It was really challenging for me because I grew up playing sports. I really like to move around. I like to be outside, but when you're injured, when you're recovering, you can't do any of that. You just have to sit there and basically do nothing.
Yeah.
So it was really mentally challenging, but I got through it. My high school's counselor helped me a lot dealing with this tough period of time. But I learned how patience is key, and how for athletes the biggest battle is not on the field or on the court, but actually off the field, off the court, where nobody's watching.
Exactly. No, 100%. I mean, I understand being battled with injuries. My whole career, I've talked about is been through injuries. I mean, I think my freshman year of college was the first time I really didn't have an injury in season. I had an injury in preseason. I hyperextended my knee, but other than that, I understand it's a lot that you think of, and I feel like some people don't really process. You you have the injury on the field and you're not there, but what's it like to stand on the sidelines and show the practice and not do anything, or not participating, or go home, and what's your mental mind going through at that point when you're at home? Because I don't know, to me, I feel like it was pretty dark times.
Yeah.
To go through injuries and not a part of things. It really kind of changed your aspect, but sometimes the little things of guys saying hey and how you doing and asking, just keep them up with you is all you could do.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're feeling. That it's difficult to go through stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, for my next question, student athletes deal with a lot throughout the day, going with class, practice, social life. Time management is one of the things you have to learn is becoming an adult. So I just want to know you guys' aspect on that and how you either adapt to it or you're still adapting to it. How's that kind of process coming in? I mean, you're a freshman right now. How is that going for you, and how have you kind of grown from it as a sophomore?
I feel like you always kind of feel like a chicken without a head at the start of every new term. There's a big adjustment from high school to college because you're a full-time student on top of the fact that you're a student athlete, on top of any other extracurriculars you might be doing. Like, for example, I do a research practicum and I'm a tour guide here. So it's a full-time job doing all of that. And you never get it perfectly right, in my experience, but you just kind of learn a little bit more every time you make a mistake and you miss a class or you forget to fulfill some sort of obligation.
I had this chicken. I like that.
Yeah.
That is true. I feel that. So.
Yeah. For me, like during high school, I went to boarding school, so it's also like your days just filled with duties and everything you need to do, and so it kind of helped me prepare for college. But when I first got here, it was still like when class started, I was like, I was really panicking because it was one thing after another. I have to go from classes to meetings and then to classes again and then to lifts and then to practice and then to like just a lot of stuff. And then so time management was really important to me. I'm still learning how to manage my own time. But I think it's really important for student athletes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a huge key. And I mean, I feel like being a junior, I'm still learning things, but I had definitely had, I guess you could say, culture shock coming into college. And high school was completely different, but I just feel like having time management skills going forward is going to lead to a lot of things. And I feel like sports kind of instill that within you because you have to, like you said before, you have to go to meetings, practice, class. Like you have to be able to organize your time as an athlete. You have to go to the training room before practice. You have to wake up early. Say like, you guys are waking up at like 5 o'clock, I think. You gotta wake up, be there, ready to go. Then after practice, you can have class right away. You gotta figure out, shower, eat. It's a lot that can go on during that time. So.
And as hard as it is, I'm thankful for it because, you and I were recruited under Coach Behrman, who, for those that might not know, was a previous head coach, 2 previous head coaches ago. I don't know if I'm putting that in a way that makes sense.
No,
but we were recruited under a coach that instilled in us the concept of Dutch time, which at the time we were the Union College Dutchmen. So Dutch time means you come to a meeting 5 minutes early, and if you do that, you're on time. So you really got to come to the meeting like 8 minutes early, so you're early. But I feel like that just that has prepared me for the real world when I go on a job interview or I meet with somebody I might want to network with, and I'm there early.
Yeah, you're going to show you that you care. I mean, George is here 10 minutes early, so that was perfect. That was right on time,
Yeah, I totally agree with what Dan just said. I'm here during the Poppe era, but we're still doing the like 5 minutes early to lifts and everything. Yeah, but it really it puts me into the habit of being at things early to show respect, to show that you care, to show you take things seriously, and I think it's really important for my future.
Yeah.
Also, like having all those things that you have to do, like it keeps me busy. It keeps me. It helps me. It like forces me to practice my time management skills, and I feel like with such a busy schedule, like it keeps me like on top of things. It actually helps me being efficient with homework and all that.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So Dutch time was a great thing. I thought that was a great add-on to coming in as a freshman, kind of understanding the fact. I think my first day I showed up like on time, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, bro? Let's start at 12, or I'm here at 12. What do you mean?" And then finding out, yeah, well, Dutch time is 5 minutes before. That's when it starts, and then you got to be there before that. So it's really showing up like 10 minutes before you actually got to be there. But now I do that with everything. I mean, I learned that from my father also. He's always like, you have to be there early. You have to show up early. We're leaving early. So I definitely get that aspect of it. And I feel like that's a trait that you pick up from doing certain things like that, So
I had a very similar experience during our training camp my freshman year, your sophomore year. I showed up to a meeting on Dutch time.
Yeah.
I think the meeting was at 8, and I showed up at 7:55.
Yeah.
And everybody was seated before me, so I still felt like I was late.
Yeah, you guys do that early. I know. Now I do that with everything. Class. I get to class. Well, the other class is still going.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting outside. I'm like, all right, I'll just and it's almost gone to this thing where it's not like anxiety, but almost like I think that's the new time. Like class starts 11:45. Bam, I got to be there 11:35, and it doesn't feel right if I get there 11:45.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like built up a positive and a negative, but at least you're always on time and ready to go.
Yeah.
In my aspect. So the next thing I want to talk about is, so since we've talked about dealing with time management and being a student with that and how it goes into being an athlete, I kind of want to talk about the academic pressures and athletic pressures and performance, like weighing how it is to perform on the field and off the field.
It's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah.
Because if you I've learned the hard way that if you put all of your time into one, you'll suffer in the other. In the fall term of this year, I ended up failing a class because I just didn't want to put the work in. And I had a really good football season. I came back from a concussion, and I ended up starting. But my effort on the field didn't match my classroom effort. So my grades ended up suffering for it. And that taught me a harsh lesson. Like, if I'm not careful, I could drop out of college, and that's not something I want to do.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, man. I felt like that in high school. My freshman year, beginning of my freshman year in high school, I kind of had the same thing. I was kind of more focused on what was going on on the field than what was going on off the field. And I felt like I could handle both, but I really wasn't processing what was going on. And I had a great season my freshman year, and then realized in the classroom I was not doing great. And then now I had to pay for it going forward in my freshman year, because beginning of my freshman year, grades were not great. But after my sophomore year, I found the balance. I was able to do well on the field and in the classroom. I was able to excel both. And looking back on it, I was like, wow, that was really stupid of me to, not really think about that. But, mistakes are going to happen, and you have to learn from them. Every mistake is a lesson. You learn from it, and you move on. And, I believe in second chances. So, I mean, the rest of my high school career, I finished out great, and I did very well. So, it shows that sometimes you just got to learn. Sometimes you got to have a lesson. So.
Yeah, and I think balance is a great way to put it, because you only have 24 hours a day, and if you spend more time on football, you will spend less time on the other, because there's only a certain amount of time. And for me, my freshman year, my fall season, this past fall season, my GPA, it wasn't low, but it wasn't as high as I expected, because I had to adjust to the new schedule. I had to adjust to the rigorous training schedule for football, and then I ended up not spending that much time on academics. So obviously showed on my grade book, showed on my report, so I learned that lesson. And winter term, there is off season, so obviously we spend less time on football. But I kept in mind that I need to balance things out, and ultimately it still goes back to time management.
Yeah.
Because you gotta know what time you gotta spend on football, what time you gotta spend on academics, and you wanna concentrate on each individual things while you're doing it. So winter term I had really good grades, and I think I learned my lesson from fall term.
Yeah, I feel like especially coming in a freshman as college, there's a lot you have to adjust. So it's almost not expected, but it's okay, it's all right. It's new, and you have to get used to the system that's going on here. Being able to go the trimester, 10 weeks, very fast paced, advanced, So, and some people aren't prepared for that from high school, or just not ready to handle that, and it's a learning curve. But I guess it is expected for freshmen. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to go through, because some people could never pick that up or never learn from it, and then you never know where the path can go. Yeah. So, but it's great to see that you guys have both persevered through and are on the other side of it now. So, the next thing I want to talk about is with past athletes on the podcast. I've gotten a common conception of the stigma around campus about being an athlete and being a student athlete in classes. So, like I know previously other athletes have felt kind of being a football player sends a certain message, having a target on your back in classrooms or in social life aspects. Do you guys feel that there's anything against athletes or towards or even positives about being an athlete on the field or off the field?
I think it depends on who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
If you have someone who has a preconceived notion of athletes being
there's nothing you can do.
Jocks, there's nothing you can do. I've never experienced how should I put it, I don't want to say discrimination.
No, you can say stigma. It's just
overt stigma. Even in the beginning of this term, I'm taking an English class, and we were going around introducing ourselves and saying a fun fact, and the professor was surprised that I said I enjoy reading. So I was wearing a Union football shirt, and I said, I enjoy reading. It's probably one of my biggest hobbies.
Yeah.
And I feel like those stereotypes stay with us. But on the other hand, you have professors that see the type of success that athletes tend to achieve in the real world because of the things we talked about earlier, the time management and perseverance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, another thing I feel like bringing up Berman is that what he taught us is, a third of the people here are going to like you, a third of people are not going to care, a third of people are going to hate you.
Right.
So that's kind of everything I take with me every day. And, I have met a lot of professors now who kind of notice what we're going through, like the amount of pressure and time management that we have to, deal with day in and day out, and they understand. And I feel like I've also met professors who don't care at all. They're like, all right, we'll figure it out. You want to do this? It's a privilege. You need to figure it out. As much as it is a privilege, I do think, there's a lot going on and a little assistance each way of just, just understanding where we're coming from. Doesn't mean we need special attachments or extensions, anything like that. It's just, understanding who we are. We're still going to show up to class and be here every day and participate, but we need to be treated like a lesser than compared to a normal student or a non-athlete. So.
Yeah, for me, I remember my high school, beginning of my high school career, I didn't play varsity football, I played JV football. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of I was the bad side of the story. I had the stigma against the varsity players. I thought they're they don't like to study, they don't like to do all that. But then once I became a varsity athlete, I understand they're actually struggling a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to balance academics and athletics. And I realized I had my teammates on the varsity, they're actually very smart people. Yeah. So and here, I would say there's definitely some people definitely have some stigma against athletes. But as you said, there's gonna be people that doesn't like you. There's gonna be people that doesn't care. But my job is to do my best, bettering myself, and I don't need to care about people who has negative stigma against me.
Yeah, I mean, whoever have that already made up their mind like that, just number one, they're not open to the world. They're not open to people who are different. And I understand the stigma's there for a reason. It obviously was occurrence at some point, or it is what it is. It's out there and people are aware of it. But I feel like especially being at the school, you can't kind of survive being like that. You have to do well in school and you have to do well on the field to keep playing. So I feel like being at a place like Union to kind of set you up to do both, which is one of the reasons I chose to come here. But no, I totally get what you're saying. You have to just kind of put it out of your mind. It's not what needs to be focused on right now. You just have to worry about yourself and keep going.
Yeah, and by just focusing on bettering myself, I'm actually I feel like I'm help fighting the stigma, because for example, if I can get good grades in my math class while being a football athlete, it's kind of proves to everybody that football athletes can be good at math. They can be good at other things other than football. So I think it helps change their opinion a little bit.
I thought it was interesting how you said as a JV athlete you looked at the varsity and had had these kind of ideas and thoughts of how they were acted. Where I feel like I almost had the same thing, coming in through high school and even in college at some point, because you don't know the other players, you don't know the other people yet, being a young kid or not involved with them every day. So I feel like it's definitely like a learning curve. Like, oh no, actually they are up to date and they know what they're doing, and now you have to do that and expect it to keep up, keep up running with it. So it's definitely an interesting aspect I never really, I guess, thought about before. I kind of analyzed it. Yeah, that is something. You could see one thing, but you don't know what's going on within their daily life. You're not in their shoes.
Yeah.
So
very true.
And I feel like going back to Dan about saying you love to read, I also love to read. I'm a big reader. I mean, last night I was reading Insurgent, going through the Divergent series again, and I'm also reading Dune at the same time. So, and a lot of people, I've also had experiences found that I love to read, or I'm very into Star Wars, so I read a lot of comics and lore on that. So I feel like it's interesting that a lot of people, when they see you're an athlete or see you're a football player or something or involved in a certain activity, they kind of already have those, I guess, assumptions of what you like, what you do. You're a stereotypical athlete. So, I think it's good to paint a picture of, just being yourself and doing what you want to do in and day out. Don't care what everybody else says. Just being you. And I've been in classes and seen many people say that they're football players. That's their fun fact in class. But I know from my experience, I've never done that either. I've always tried to pick something different. I know I love to fish, read, I'm into Star Wars, stuff like that. So I feel like making yourself unique or just showing people that you're not a part of it's, as being an athlete, we're just as like everyone else. We have interests, we have dislikes and stuff like that.
And I think that ties into what you said about why you came to Union. I think to come here and really get the most out of this college and this experience, you have to be well-rounded, or you have to make yourself kind of well-rounded. I didn't come here just to play football. I think I think both of you agree with me on that.
Yeah.
And we had one of our new coaches say, you came to Union to play football because I know for a fact you didn't grow up watching Union games. And I just completely disagree with that.
I completely disagree. I mean, people could love a sport and grow up watching a sport and still want to play and do it all. I mean, I came to Union, one of the biggest factors was Union was being able to get a good education, be myself on campus, not drown myself in a large school and still have the chance to play football. I don't know what coach said that, but I would have felt very triggered by someone saying that because, I didn't grow up watching Union football. Maybe someone did. But at the same time, I grew up watching football, playing other things, and I just enjoy it in the sport. Why do you have to make it such a negative? Or, no, you came here to play football. No, I came here to go to school and go to Union College. I committed to Union, and everything that comes with Union, not just football directly. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And it was actually a coach from another school that was recruiting me that said to me, commit to a school because of the school.
Exactly.
Don't commit because you like the coaching staff or because you like the team in general. Commit to the school.
That's a great guy. That's a great say by whoever said that. And my father's the same thing. He's like, look, because football is very apparent in my life right now. Like in high school, it was really a big thing, and I played and I enjoyed it. And he's like, these next 4 years really can determine what your life pans out to. So choose a place you feel at home at. Choose a place not because of the team, but somewhere you can be yourself and succeed at the same time. There's a lot. I mean, you guys both are here at Union, so there's a lot of things that went into decision making wherever else you're comparing to. But either maybe not playing football at all, or just going to school and playing football. I know I dealt with that as a senior. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue playing, just because I had my junior season. It was just beginning of COVID. And I had a season-ending injury, so I really didn't get to play my junior year. Senior year, I only had 6 games, so my career mostly is the end of my senior year and my freshman and sophomore year. So, and being a sophomore, I played JV, you didn't get that experience. So I really feel like I only had 2 years of full, kind of being in the realm of football. So I had that aspect. I got into other schools that I didn't want to play football at, but I felt like Union was the best spot for me. So it's just an interesting aspect to think about. Coming to a college, not purely for football, just to be a part of a college, doing whatever lies within that college. So that's a great point, though, Dan. So the next thing I want to talk about is how are your past coaches' perspective on student athletes' mental health kind of awareness? Are they positive of it? I feel like now in classes at Union, I see a lot in syllabus where they're like, we care about your mental health and what you're going through. So if you always reach out, stuff like that. So I'm curious on your aspects of your experiences with that throughout your career so far.
Was the question about how coaches feel about
Yeah,
it?
like kind of.
Okay.
I guess you could say coaches and professors. Have other people, how other people's perspectives been about mental health. Have they cared about your own well-being and stuff like that? Just kind of curious of like if it's have you seen it grow since high school or seen it grow over time? Because I feel like in the media, mental health has kind of grown a lot in the past couple of years, especially with the NFL and other sports. I've done a lot of research on the WNBA and women's college financial disparities. So I've seen a lot of growth there also. So I'm just curious about this side of it being an athlete.
I've had a very positive experience here with mental health. At the start of my sophomore season during training camp, I got a concussion, and I was out for a while. I was out for longer than I expected to be because the symptoms just weren't going away. Mm-hmm. And I was able to talk to the head coach at the time, John Poppe, and he was really supportive through that. Yeah. And when I was talking to him, I got a little emotional, but I felt like okay being that way in front of him because I felt like I had no doubt in my mind that he was going to support me through what I was going through.
I got to say, even with John Poppe not being here at all, but when I decided to step away from football, there was a lot going on mentally of just struggling with my injuries. I spoke about before, but I had a right ligament tear in my right foot. I did it, a Liz Frank injury. I did it in high school too. That was what I did my junior year. So I've had it in both feet, and it's just an excruciating pain that I couldn't get away from. And I worked with Cheryl, and Poppy would come to like not practicing and just practicing one day a week to just playing. That's what it came to was September. I was just going to play in games. So I was going to spend all that time not even practicing, not lifting, just to play in the games. And it was just causing me so much stress off the field. But when I sat down and talked it out with Poppy, he was very supportive and, was like, hey, what you need to do, whatever you need to do, that's the decision you have to make. You can't take into factor what everyone else is going to think. You're the only person. He said this to me. He's like, you're the only person that's going to be walking in your shoes. You know what it's like to go day in and day out, and you got to do what you got to do. And he was, like, very supportive, he'll do whatever I need. If I need if I just need playing games, if I need to take some time off and come back, if I just want to come on in the staff. And I felt like that was another thing, even though he's not here anymore, I really liked about him, and I hope he does that at Columbia. He was a very understanding and supportive coach, and really, I felt like really he trusted and had our best interest in us, no matter what our outcome was.
Yeah, so. I completely agree.
Yeah. I also had a really positive experience with coaches and faculty and everybody during my high school and college career about mental health. My head coach at New Hampton School which is the second high school I went to where I played varsity football, and the high school there, the head coach there, Coach Kiley, and he's a really good guy. I really respected him, and he not just want us to succeed on the field, he wants us to succeed in life, and he really cared about me. And I remember, my senior year after I had 2 surgeries, I was not feeling well. My mental health was like going downhill. And then he somehow found out that I've been going to the school counselor. So one day he came talk to me about my mental health, just checking in with me, and told me like if I need anybody to talk to, he'll always be there, and he understands about the mental health struggles of being a student athlete. So that really gave me a lot of confidence, gave me a lot of made me feel a lot safer. And then he also he understands how student athletes are like going through a lot, take breaks, and he understands all that. Like he expects us to work hard, but he also gave us breaks if really needed. So I think he was really understandable by doing that. And for college, I also really like Coach Poppe. He I remember, and I like Cheryl too. And
Cheryl's great.
Yeah,
great.
I remember like I had a small injury last fall, and then I had to sit out for like 2 weeks, and then for some reason I was really concerned that I'm gonna get cut from the team.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then so like Cheryl somehow found out I had that worry, and then Cheryl and Poppy together talked to me, just tell me to don't worry about things that just just
keep
made up
going.
in my mind.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
I
it made me
understand
feel
where
a
you
lot
come
better.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, playing a competitive sports definitely gave me a lot of anxiety. But my coaches the coaches and faculty and trainers that I've been having are really supportive of me, and they really help me in dealing with these emotions.